Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about ecosystem. When we talk about ecosystem, we see that it is divided into two words. First is called as eco and second is called as system. So eco is related to environment, and when we talk about system, it means interacting groups. So we can say that in our environment, how many different kind of living entities as well as non-living entities interact with each other, that is called as ecosystem. Or we can say the interrelationship, the interaction between living things as well as non-living things, the interrelationship between biotic environment as well as abiotic environment is called as ecosystem. The term ecosystem was first coined by A.G. Tansley in 1935. A.G. Tansley in 1935. So, when we talk about components of ecosystem, we know that ecosystem is made up from two things. First thing is, we can say that living things, living organisms, as well as we can say other thing is non-living things. So when we talk about all living entities present in our environment, all these things are called as biotic environment. So these are the part of biotic environment, and all non-living entities are the part of abiotic environment, or we can say physical environment. So our whole ecosystem, the whole interrelationship between two or more living organisms to each other and to living organism to non-living entities occur into our ecosystem, and it is depend on biotic environment, we can say, and as well as abiotic environment. So these are the two main components of our ecosystem. So what are the main elements, or we can say components of our ecosystem? There are two types. When we talking about the main components of ecosystem, they can be classified into two types. First is biotic ecosystem, biotic environment, and second is abiotic components of ecosystem. So all these components can be classified into two types, biotic as well as abiotic components. Now these biotic and abiotic components can be further classified into various types. When we talk about first, we are talking about biotic components of ecosystem. Biotic components of ecosystem can be classified into three types. First is called as producers, which are also called as autotrophs. Second are called as consumers, and third is called as decomposers. So the biotic components of ecosystem can be classified into three types: producers or autotrophs, second consumers, or we can say these can be classified into primary consumers, secondary consumers, as well as top consumers, and third is decomposers. Besides this, there are some parasites are also available, there are some scavengers are also available. So there are different categories of biotic components of ecosystem. So first we are talking about producers. Producers, it means they produce food. They are the main source of producing food, that are called as producers, or they are called as autotrophs. Auto means self, trophs means production. They self-produce their food, so they are called as producers as well as they are called as autotrophs. The green plants and some photosynthetic bacteria are the examples of producers because they make their own food from the sunlight by the process of photosynthesis. In photosynthesis, they use carbon dioxide gas, they use water, they use chlorophyll and minerals. So by this photosynthesis process there is the production of carbohydrate, or we can say there is the production of glucose, C6H12O6. So they make their own food by the process of photosynthesis. They are called as producers. The main example of producers are green plants as well as photosynthetic bacteria. So this is the first part of biotic environment. Second is called as consumers. Consumers means they consume their food from producers. Okay, so consumers can be classified into one or more categories. The first is called as primary consumers. So first, now we are talking about second type of biotic ecosystem. They can be classified into three types. First is called as primary consumers. Primary consumers. Primary consumers are also called as herbivorous animals. Herbivorous animals means they only depend on plants. They only depend on leaves, branches and plants. So these are called as the primary consumers as well as herbivorous animals. For example, rabbit, cow and insects. So all these are the examples of primary consumers. Now second type of consumers is called as the secondary consumers. Secondary consumers, the animals which eat primary consumers to fulfill their food related needs, that are called as secondary consumers. The example of secondary consumers, the animals which eat primary consumers, for example we can say tiger, lion, all are the examples of secondary consumers. And third is called as top consumers. Top consumers, that are also called as omnivorous animals which eat both plants as well as animals to fulfill their food habit. For example, human beings, cockroach, crow, all are the examples of top consumer, or we can say they eat both plants as well as animals, and these are called omnivorous animals. Secondary consumers are called as carnivorous animals and primary consumers are called as herbivorous animals. So we can say that these can be divided into three parts, three types. On the third category, besides these, there are some parasites are also available. Parasites means they live inside or outside of our body and they grow. And there are some scavengers also, they eat dead flesh of other animals. So these are the type of consumers. Then we are talking about decomposers. When we continue about decomposers, decomposers are those microorganisms which decompose the dead organic matter. They feed on dead organic matters to fulfill their food habitat. So all the microorganisms, they include inside the decomposers because they decompose dead organic matters. For example, bacteria, fungi as well as algae. So these are the examples of decomposers. So these are, we are talking about the biotic components of the environment. They are first we are talking about producers or autotrophs, second are consumers, and third is decomposers. Now we are talking about abiotic factors of abiotic components of ecosystem. When we are talking about abiotic components, these are classified into three types. First is called as climatic factor. Second is called as inorganic compounds, and third is called as organic compounds. So abiotic components can be classified into three types. First, climatic factor, which are related to climate. For example, pH, humidity, sunlight, rainfall, soil, all these are the example of climatic factor. Water, air, all these are the example of climatic factors which influences our climate, which are related to our climate. Second are inorganic components present on our environment are called as inorganic components. For example, calcium, magnesium, phosphate, the minerals present in the soil, all are the examples of the inorganic components present in our soil as well as in our environment, are called as inorganic components. Third is organic components. The example of organic components are the carbohydrates, vitamins, carbohydrates, vitamins, as well as we can say proteins, lipids, all are the examples of organic components. So these are the abiotic factors. These are the non-living entities which are related to, which are very useful for the interaction in our environment. So these can be classified into three types. So in easiest way we can say there are two components of ecosystem, biotic components as well as abiotic components. Biotic components can be classified into three types, as well as abiotic components is also classified into three types. Biotic components, three types are, it can be divided into three types, which are producers, consumers, as well as decomposers. And when we talk about abiotic components, they can be classified into climatic factor, inorganic compounds, as well as organic compounds. So these are the main components of an ecosystem. In next class we will talk about main functions of ecosystem. What are the main functions of ecosystem? For example, the functions can be classified into five types, for like food chain, food web, energy flow, ecological pyramids, and biogeochemical cycles. So that are the functions of ecosystem, and we will discuss them into our next class. Thank you.